Delighted to welcome Labour's Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary Jonathan Ashworth to us. The show live for us from College Green. We got you eventually. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry I was a bit late this morning.
Not to worry, not to worry. Great to have you on air. Right, lots to talk about. I need to talk to you first of all about these latest unemployment figures. Slight uptick to 3.9% from 3.8% according to the ONS, but also average earnings rising by 6.7% in March. Big pay rises in a normal year. Of course, the reality is doesn't touch the size of what the inflationary costs of petrol, fuel and food prices are going on. Do you think we're going in the right direction, though?
Well, overall employment is still lower than what it was before the pandemic. It looks like vacancies have gone down. I think what's really striking in these statistics, and there's always a lot of stats published on a morning like this, and you've really got to get your teeth into them. But what jumps out to me is the fact that there's now, I think, 2.6 million people out of work for reasons of sickness. That's really worrying. Some of that is because of the problems in the National Health Service, quite desperate state the NHS is in after 13 years of the Conservatives. But we also know from the surveys that many people who are out of work for reasons of sickness would return to work with the right type of help. So one of the proposals I've put forward, because I want to be a welfare reforming work and pension secretary, are changes to the benefit system to offer an into-work guarantee to deal with the disincentives in the sickness-related benefit system at the moment, which are trapping people out of work, but also offering people with long-term sickness real support and help moving into work. There's innovative things you can do now. You can better join up your job centre employment services with mental health services, for example. And these are the sorts of things that I'm proposing which would help people return to the workplace and get people off benefits.
We have a lot more people in this country than many other countries which perhaps don't have quite such a generous benefit system. I've got a very good friend who works in the benefit system and on the counters, not back in a back office, but dealing with people. And she says you can always tell who wants to work. The giveaway is they go and get a job. They're between jobs very, very briefly. An awful lot of people are saying, OK, if they've got an illness, they're disabled, they're like, well, there's so much work from home that's available now. It's amazing that a lot of these jobs are not being taken by these people. There is a real concern. We've got quite a few people, frankly, who are swinging the lead.
Well, first of all, you've got to have conditions in your benefit system, and we would apply conditions that people who are unemployed should demonstrate that they are actively seeking work, and there will be consequences if not. I've always said that's clear under the welfare system that I want to run. But you're right. I mean, in this day and age where there is huge advancements, whether that's work from home and technological advancements, that means that people perhaps in the past might not have been able to work, could with the modern advancements find an opportunity to work. But at the moment there is a disincentive in the benefit system, which is why I'm suggesting this into-work guarantee for those people who have been through something called the work capability assessment, to give people a bridge into moving into work. It's not just me who's put this forward, it's an idea which has found favour with the Centre for Social Justice as well, and that's a think tank which has been associated with Ian Duncan Smith. So look, I think bringing together the way in which we help people in the benefit system, bringing that together with health services as well to offer people better support, I think this is the next frontier of welfare reform, if you like.
I'm all for helping people. I'm all for helping people, and there are lots of people who just really do struggle with this, and they've been failed along the way by schools and families, and and by healthcare. But there's also an issue where there are people who just don't want to work, and we've got a benefit system which happily allows people to languish on benefits for years, even if it's they're working poor, they're working 2 days a week, doing 16 hours or whatever. Well, what a surprise they need to rely on benefits for everything else, including us paying their rent for them. What do you make about what Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has had to say this week at his conference yesterday, that we shouldn't be relying on foreign labour, we shouldn't be relying on importing people to do the jobs that we should be doing, whether it's fruit picking or driving an HGV lorry? We've got plenty of people, in fact I would say also doctors, by the way, we've got plenty of people who could be trained to do those jobs, and we should be employing them and not bringing people in from abroad. Do you agree?
Well, I mean, Suella Braverman, as the Conservative Home Secretary, made a speech criticising the records and the policies of the Conservative Home Secretary. So it was quite an extraordinary spectacle yesterday from a Conservative politician, especially under a government that's been in place now for 13 years. Look, we should be investing in skilling and training people to do jobs. It's why, for example, one of our big policy proposals is investing in training the next generation of doctors, nurses, midwives, healthcare assistants, paramedics, and so on. Because, look, we know there's a transition going on in the economy, that AI and digital and technology is going to open up huge opportunities for the future. We should be training people and skilling people and preparing ourselves now. I am ambitious for this country. I love this country. I want a country where everyone's talents can take them as far as possible. So I'm all about opportunity and extending opportunity, and that's what my reforms, if I was the Work and Pension Secretary, would be about. It's an opportunity-first agenda. Opportunity first. But again, a lot of people would say also we need a little bit more stick and a little less carrot. Well, I've said, I mean, in the welfare system, there should be conditions attached for unemployed people seeking benefit. And if you do not if you do not comply with the rules around searching for jobs and applying for jobs, or going on the training where training is offered to you, there has to be consequences to that. Okay, let's talk about... The taxpayer expects it. Let me link this with illegal migration and the like. Migration, talking about illegal migration. Rishi Sunak is going to be going to Iceland later today for a Council of Europe summit. He's going to meet with other EU countries, and also he's going to be talking to the head of the European Court of Human Rights. He wants changes to international law that many fear will actually, his illegal migration bill will break. He's going to tell the summit we must unite to face down the threats at our borders, talking about this mass migration. Would you support those changes? Well, I'm not entirely sure what he's proposing, but what I do know is that what he's proposed so far isn't cracking down on the criminal gangs which are smuggling people across the channel. We've got to go after those gangs. I saw a very prominent Conservative say, oh, these gangs will always be there, what's the point? I mean, that is utterly defeatist. When there are villains and criminals exploiting people, yeah, but that's not going to solve the problem. You could arrest every single gang smuggler, people trafficker today, and tomorrow there'll be another 100 of them. No, that's not an argument not to go for them, but Jonathan, that doesn't solve the problem. I'm not going to allow these gangs to defeat us. We've got to take them on. Well, you are. I mean, you would. We've got to take them on. OK, let's arrest all the people smugglers. You can't do anything about it. You can arrest all the... Jonathan, you can... It's not being defeated. You can arrest all the people smugglers you want. It is. There will still be more of... We should be doing that. You've got to go after these criminals. But more will come up tomorrow because the profits are so good, they are worth the risks. I want to go after these criminals and gangsters. Great. And then what? When the next one pops up... A Labour government will be tough on criminals and gangsters. I'm sorry the Tory party aren't tough on criminals and gangsters, but the Labour Party will be tough on criminals and gangsters. Do you think any voters believe that? The Tory parties want to give... If the Tory party want to be the friends of criminals and gangsters, that's their problem. We'll be tough on criminals and gangsters who are smuggling people across the channel. People who are willing to pay 3 or 4 or 5 grand to people smugglers to come across the channel are going to find someone else to pay that money to or buy a dinghy, and they're going to go across themselves. So when they get here, the question is what we do about them. The government is bringing in a legal migration bill. It got through the Commons. It's going to struggle to get through the Lords, as we know, intact. We've got lots of Labour, Lib Dem and crossbench peers, and indeed many Tory peers who are going to try and rip it to shreds. Shouldn't we just simply change the international law from a time when people couldn't travel across the globe so easily and actually have a law that actually recognises that we simply cannot have mass migration of what will actually be millions of people, many experts predicting, in the coming years? Well, as I say, we're not going to be handing out get-out-of-jail cards to the criminals and gangsters like the Tories are. But on the issue as to why are we such a destination, it's because of this huge backlog in the asylum system, because people know that their claims won't get processed. And the backlog has grown and grown and grown under successive Conservative Home Secretaries over these last 13 years. They've broken the asylum system, and because that asylum system is broken, it makes us an attractive destination for these gangs. So we're not going to give these get-out-of-jail cards to these criminals, villains and gangsters. Okay. We're going to go after them because we've got to crack down on them. So we'll ship them all to Rwanda and then they won't want to come. Job done. There we are. Let's ask about... Do you suffer from white guilt? Do I suffer from what? White guilt. Suella Braverman, in her speech yesterday, said the white population do not exist in a special state of sin. White people should not feel guilty about historic slavery. We should be celebrating Britishness rather than being ashamed of it. Do you agree? Well, look, I love this country. I'm not ashamed of this country. So I don't know what.
Do you think that white people like yourself and myself should feel any guilt, any responsibility for what's happened in the past?
No, I don't.
You're acting as if no one's talked about this. Jonathan Ashworth, this has been a major cultural debate on both sides of the Atlantic for a couple of years now.
Well, I love this country, and we should teach the history of this country. We should teach all aspects of the history of the country, both the great things we've done and the issues which I presume she's talking about, the times when this country was involved in slavery. Of course, we should teach that as well to our school children, so everybody knows the history of this country. But I love this country. Okay. I'm immensely proud of this country.
I know you've got to go, but Jonathan, just finally, do you think it's reasonable to bring in, for 3, 4, 5, 6 million EU citizens in this country to get the vote in British general and local elections, or is that, just as many critics are saying, gerrymandering and vote rigging to either win another general election for Labour or indeed an EU referendum to return to the EU?
Well, they already vote in local elections. They vote for their council at the moment, so they do vote in this country already. Look, it's just a proposal that has been looked at. I mean, there's a question as to where, if someone's lived here for 20 years or so and is paying their taxes and went and send their kids to local schools, should they have a say in the government of the country? But it's just a proposal that's being looked at, no more than that.
Why only EU citizens, though? Why not citizens who've lived here from many other countries around the world?
Well, it's just something that's being considered. EU citizens already get a vote for the local authority, for their local councils, like, you know, the local council elections most recently, but it's only something that's being looked at. That's all it is.
I know you've got to go. We've got you late. Jonathan Ashworth, always good to chat. It's looking lovely and sunny out there, by the way, on College Green. Jonathan Ashworth, Labour's Shadow Work and Pension Secretary.